and welcome once again to Lynn and Craig's live English stream. We're here to help you with your English and improve your level. And if this is your first time watching, hello.
Hello, hi.
My name's Craig, and if you don't know me, well, I'll introduce myself in a second. But
Oh no,
first,
do you go first? Go
you want
ahead.
me to
Go
go
first.
first?
Oh
Okay.
yes. Age
Well,
before beauty.
true, very, very true. My name's Craig, and if you are a Spanish speaker, you're welcome to visit the website mansioningles.com, where you will find Spanish support for your learning needs. And we also have a podcast at inglespodcast.com, and that will help you also to multitask while you're learning English. You can find it on the webpage inglespodcast.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you are interested in improving your spoken English and your fluency and your confidence, you're very welcome to visit my webpage at englishcraig.com, where you are welcome to book a free 10-minute consultancy with me, and I will speak to you and find out your level and give you information about my conversation courses. There's one starting this Sunday, this weekend. There is one space available. So if you have a B2 level, more or less, and you're interested in improving your spoken English, that's the website you need to go to book a free consultation on Zoom with me. And over there on that side, I always get that wrong, Lynn, is my good friend Lynn from putitlikethis.com. Hi, Lynn.
Hello, Craig. Hi. So, hello, everyone. And if it is the first time that you're watching, as Craig said, my name is Lynn. My online teaching business is called putitlikethis.com. And I'm exclusively an online teacher. And I specialize in trying to tailor make a course for people so that they can find their own voice in English and use or practice the English with me that they really need. So we usually depart from what your objectives are in English, and then I'll create a course around that for you specifically. Some students want to pass an exam, some students need to maybe make a presentation in their work. Some students need it for socializing or for going on holiday. So we start with what your needs are, and then I'll check your level, and then we try to create a course around that to help you find your voice in English. So if you're interested, you can go to my website and find out more details there. You can contact me over it as well. Mm-hmm.
So putitlikethis.com. Now, if you're watching live, we are going live on YouTube, on Facebook, and on LinkedIn. Please say hi in the chat. Let us know that you are there.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, don't be shy. If you have any questions, we're here to help you. During this live stream, ask any questions you like. We'll be more than happy to help you and answer your questions if we can.
Mm-hmm.
So, Lynn, what are we going to talk about today?
Oh,
what's the topic?
Well, the topic actually is hygiene, and it's kind of not an exciting topic, but we see that Craig has already got his costume ready.
And my gel.
Well, and your hand gel, lovely.
Yes,
have you
ready.
washed your hands?
Yes, I have.
Yeah.
Oof.
Well, we've chosen this topic. It's not really, hygiene doesn't come up actually, does it, as a topic in textbooks. But a couple of weeks ago, you and I did a live stream on a topic that we were talking about birthdays, and everybody seemed to be quite engaged because it's something that everybody talks about. And we said maybe we should look for topics that we all have in common. And then we thought about the topic of hygiene, because some people are what we call sticklers for hygiene. A stickler means that, you know, you're very pedantic, and hygiene means a lot to you, and you get very cross when you if people are not hygienic, or you see them as not being hygienic. That word is a stickler. And sometimes if you're a stickler for hygiene, it really bugs you or bothers you if other people don't have the same level of hygiene that you have. So we thought we would talk about hygiene in general. We'll give you a little bit of vocabulary so that in case you don't know some of the vocabulary around this topic. And then we've got quite a few discussions and topics to talk about.
People are joining us as we speak. Hi, Vicente from Valencia, and hello, Maximiliano from Uruguay. Good to have your company.
Hello. Nice to see you tonight.
Lovely to see you here. And anybody else watching, please say hi so that we know that we're not speaking just between the two of us. Let's kick off.
I hope the topic hasn't put people off. It might have put some people off. They might not be so intrigued to talk about hygiene.
Yeah, I put this on to stop me getting a computer virus. That's why I put this. Let's look at some vocabulary to get the ball rolling. What's the spelling on hygiene? It's strange, isn't it? Hygiene. And the pronunciation is hygiene or hygiene if Gene is very tall. So it could be a hygiene.
Or you might have jeans on with a high waist, and you can always think of that pronunciation too. They are high jeans, obviously, with hygiene, because a lot of people in other languages have very big trouble with the word, don't they? They go hygiene and all sorts of strange. Well, for us English, it sounds strange, but it's hygiene is the pronunciation. And then we have go on.
Be careful of that H sound as well, especially if you're a Spanish speaker. It's not from the throat. It's not here. It's just like you're cleaning your glasses. Hygiene.
And then we have the adjective, which is hygiene is a noun, and the adjective is hygienic. Hygienic. And the opposite is unhygienic. So some things can be unhygienic. Do you want to continue?
Sanitation. Yes, if something is sanitary, it's healthy. And the opposite of sanitary is unsanitary. So notice you've got the same prefix there to make the opposite. Unhygienic, unsanitary. And sanitation. You often hear sanitation when you talk about sanitation in cities, for example, where the waste water or the waste material goes down the drains and it gets purified. The sanitation of a city. And the verb to sanitize, which is what this does, this is sanitation gel.
Or hand sanitizer, they call it, don't they? Hand sanitizer.
Antibacterial hand gel. I always carry this with me. And before COVID, before the pandemic, I was carrying gel. Yeah.
Oh, that's really interesting. And why did you do that? Because I'd never come across it really until COVID.
Well, you know this, Lynn. We live in Spain. The restaurants and the bars in Spain, especially at my price point, the ones on the toilets in these places are not always hygienic. They're not always sanitized. So I always carry gel just in case I can't wash my hands after going to the toilet, and it's always useful to have gel with in your bag or in your pocket.
I mean, I started to get in. I had used hand sanitizer before, but it was when I was actually in hospital or when I was visiting my father, who for a time was in an old people's residence, and they usually wanted you to put hand sanitizer before you saw the patients. So to try to keep the infection down in hospitals. So I had used hand sanitizer in hospitals or in old people's homes, but it was only during COVID really when it became very, very popular. But since then, like you, I always carry a hand sanitizer in my handbag, and it's exactly for those situations when you need to wash your hands but you actually can't because there's no place to wash your hands. So I take it, for example, when we go hiking, so that when we stop to have our food we can clean our hands beforehand.
Well, I'm sure we'll get on to other uses of that later when we speak about travel and flights and hotels, etc. But notice that verb there in the vocabulary, to sanitize, which is to make something clean and free from germs. Germs spread disease. So it's a good idea to clean your hands so that they are sanitized. And sterilized looks similar, but if you're sterilizing something, then you are eliminating, completely destroying all forms of life, especially those microorganisms that you find that can possibly do you harm. So to sanitize, to make something clean and germ free, and to sterilize, which you often see in hospitals or in the dentist, for example, then that's cleaning something though there's nothing to contaminate anything. It's completely free from all microorganisms.
And if you have babies, I used to have to sterilize the bottles. That's very common, because they really have to be completely germ-free before you put milk in them. So you have to sterilize the equipment. And also in beauticians, for example, or in beauty salons, they often sterilize equipment that they use between patients.
Okay. Just say hi to Steffi, who's joined us, and Fabiana as well. Hello to you.
Hi, hello.
What else do we have here?
Disinfect is another word.
Yes. So to infect is where germs spread. If you get an infection, that could be dangerous or even life-threatening. So infection is the noun. The verb is to infect, and the opposite, we're using a different prefix, not un, but dis, for the opposite of infect, which is disinfect, to remove the germs from something. And the noun is disinfectant, which you also use in your house to clean.
Okay.
So move on.
Yeah, we've got a little bit more. Okay, so Craig has been using the word germ a lot. Now, a germ is maybe a colloquial expression for a bacteria or a virus, I would say. Yeah, it's a microorganism, really.
Yes.
A germ. We also have the word bugs. That's also quite informal. So you can have a bug. Craig made a joke at the beginning about computer bugs and computer viruses. So a bug and a virus is something that can cause an infection. Bacteria and virus are the more clinical terms for them. Infection we've already talked about, and another word for an infection is a disease. For example, you can have a disease from an infection. Okay.
There used to
and
be
then we've got go on.
I remember a sign in the doctors when I was very young that said, I don't know why I remember it, but it said, coughs and sneezes spread diseases. Trap your germs in a handkerchief.
Oh, really?
I don't know why I remember that, but it was on the wall of the doctors when I was very young. Yeah, coughs and sneezes, achoo, sneezes, spread diseases. So trap your germs, or put your germs in your handkerchief or your tissue.
Although in COVID, we were told not to do that. You were supposed to sneeze into your elbow, not into your hand, because then you touched somebody else and passed it on.
That's right. COVID changed everything.
Yeah.
So let's look at some phrasal verbs. You can pick something up. You can pick up a bug, which means that you have the bug. If Lynn has a cold or the flu, and I come into contact with Lynn, like I touch her or she breathes close to me, these germs can pass from human to human. And then I've picked up a cold, or I've picked up some bug, or I've picked up the flu, which means to be kind of infected by it, doesn't it?
Yes, it means that you've been infected. I've picked it up somewhere.
Of course, pick up has a physical meaning. You can pick up something, and also pick up idiomatically, same phrasal verb, means to be infected by something.
And you can also pick up a language. If you pick up a language, it means you learn a language, but naturally. Where did you pick it up? Where did you learn? Where did you catch on to it? So pick up has got a few things,
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because come down with, you've got pick up and come down, so you've got up and down, but come down with something is very similar. You can come down with a cold, which means you catch a cold. Notice that collocation, to catch a cold or to get a cold. You can come down with the flu, you can come down with a disease, you can come down with something that puts you in bed and off work.
And of course, so pick something up, come down with, they really mean become infected, which is a more formal way of saying it. Okay. We talked earlier, I think it was on the previous slide actually, with disinfectant. So we've done that. And then we can also talk about contaminate, contaminated, cross-contamination. And contaminate is when you spread illnesses. So, for example, if I have a cold and I sneeze into my hand and then I touch the door handle to open the door, and then Craig comes behind me and touches the door handle, I have contaminated the door handle. And then Craig might have picked up my germ. And if he's unlucky, he might come down with flu too. Okay. And then cross-contamination is something that we often talk about in food preparation. Because in food preparation, which we will talk about at some point later today, for example, if you chop, for example, chicken, raw chicken, if you're cutting or slicing raw chicken before you cook it, and then you use the same board, there are microbes on raw chicken. They're very infectious, actually. Chicken is one of the worst, I think, meats. And if you then cut, for example, raw vegetables, and somebody eats the vegetables raw, then you have contaminated the vegetables with the microbes from the chicken because you've used the same board or the same implements. So sometimes when people get ill, it sometimes can be because of cross-contamination, where the illnesses come from a secondary source.
Good point. Andres says material to operate in the operating room.
Yes,
the
definitely.
operating
We
room in a
sterilize
hospital.
that. I think he was probably mentioning, because when I said we sterilize bottles for babies, and we also sterilize material in the operating room. That's true.
And a nice question from Vinicius. What's the difference between ill and sick? Very good question. There isn't much difference when you're talking about being sick or being ill. I'm sick, I'm ill, are very, very similar, except, and I don't know if you agree, Lynn, I think to be sick is more common in American English, and in Britain, in British English, we'd use either. But I think they
we
tend to
would,
say,
but I think in British English we tend to use I'm ill, because, and you have to be very careful here with the word sick and the verb to be if you use it in the continuous form. Because if you say I am being sick, it means you are vomiting.
yes.
Right? So it's the word sick, you have to be very careful with the tenses, because if you say I'm sick, present simple, then it means I'm ill. But if you say I'm being sick, which is active, actively, that means that you are vomiting.
I'll put that verb in the chat as well. To vomit is to be sick. Yeah.
And then there's another little difference, Vinicius, is that ill and sick is an adjective, but sometimes we use the adjective sick to collocate and make compound nouns. So we say sick leave. Where is she? Oh, she's on sick leave, which means she's absent from the company because she is ill. We talk about sick pay, which is the payment you receive from your employer if you are ill. Okay, but we don't collocate those nouns like pay or leave. We don't collocate that with the adjective ill. Okay, only with sick. So we talk about sick pay, sick leave.
There's a lovely expression. I think it's mainly used in Liverpool. I've never heard it used in London, where I'm from. I don't know if you've heard it from your part of the UK, Lynn, to throw a sickie.
To throw a sickie, yes,
You'd say
which
that.
means, well, I've heard of it. I don't know whether it's used in the Northeast, but it means that you are pretending to be ill and you tell your employer you are ill
And you
because
go
you don't want to
shopping,
go to
or you
work,
go
but
to
maybe you were on
go
holiday
to the
or something.
cinema. Yeah.
And to throw a sickie means you have pretended to be ill when you're not.
Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
Love it. To throw a
Mhm.
sickie.
To throw a
Fantastic.
sickie. To go, I mean, the normal verb for that is to go on the sick, isn't it? If you go on the sick, to go on the sick, it means you take sick leave.
I wouldn't say that. As a Londoner, I would say I'm off sick.
You're off sick.
Are you sick? Have you got a cough? Oh dear, have
Yes.
some water. If you're off sick, then you're not working because you are ill. So you're at home, you're recovering, you're off sick. So I would say, Peter's not in work today. He's off sick. He's not at work. You
Excuse
okay?
me.
Went down the
Yeah,
wrong way.
went down the wrong way. Sorry, keep going.
I'll keep going. So let's look at some more vocabulary. We've got this verb to scrub. Now, if your floor is dirty, or your desk or your table is dirty, you can take a brush or a cloth and you can clean it with a lot of force and strength, and that is scrubbing something. And you have special brushes in the old days that they used to clean floors with on your hands and knees, and that's called a scrubbing brush. So the idea of scrubbing is to clean thoroughly, to really, really clean well. So if something is scrubbed down, you expect it to be very, very clean. And that's what they do in hospitals. That's what they do in any place where they need to sanitize or sterilize a work surface, for example.
In kitchens, they often scrub down the
Kitchens
kitchens
as
at the
well.
end of service.
Whereas to scrub up would be to wash your hands and also most of your forearm here, the lower part of your arm, especially if you're a surgeon or a nurse or you're going to operate on someone in the operating room, as you said earlier. So to scrub up is to thoroughly wash your hands so there are no germs and then you don't contaminate anything. You don't pass on any germs.
And I think in hospitals, the doctors often say, we're going to scrub up now, which means they're going to prepare for the operation by washing. And then when you actually wash your hands, there's also some vocabulary related with this. We'll start with the second one, lather. So when you get soap and you move it in your hands and it gets all foamy
Bubbly.
and bubbly, that is lather. So you lather your hands first, and then you need to put them under water to wash away the soap. And the verb for that is to rinse. So first of all, you lather your hands and then you rinse your hands, which means to wash off the soap.
And to wipe down a surface is very, very similar to scrub down a surface, although maybe not as thoroughly. Do you agree? So if you wipe
not as
down,
aggressively.
not
So
as
not as
aggressively.
abrasively. So you might just have a cloth and you wipe down. But scrub is very abrasive. It scratches a little bit.
Vinicius said that in Ireland, his teacher used to say, God bless you without the ED. God bless you when someone coughs or sniffs. I would say only when you sneeze. I wouldn't say bless you if someone coughs or sniff is to do this. I wouldn't say bless you. I'd only say bless you if someone sneezes, which is actually, that is a sneeze.
Yes, that's the same for me, Vinicius. In the Northeast, we wouldn't say God bless you, only for sneezing. But I'm not sure. We're not Irish, so.
Yeah, maybe it's different in Ireland. That's true.
It could be different in Ireland. It could be.
Yeah. Where are we? Okay, so we've covered that vocabulary.
I think we've got all the vocabulary now.
So we would like you now to be a little active and do something. What do we want you to do? Well, can you write in the chat 3 things about hygiene that really get your goat, which means make you angry, drive you mad, drive you crazy, get on your nerves? What things annoy you? about other people's bad hygiene.
or maybe it might annoy you because you think it's too much hygiene. I don't
True.
know. But
Yep.
3 things that annoy you, that really get your goat and make you crazy. Try to think of them and see if you can write them in the chat, and then we can talk about them. While
You can
you're
also say
writing
that they're
that.
pet
Mhm.
peeves. If you have a pet
Oh,
peeve,
yes, a
that's
pet
something
peeve.
that,
That's
that
nice.
maybe annoys you specifically. It doesn't annoy people
Mhm,
in general, but you really dislike it. It's something
mhm,
that gets your goat, that
mhm.
bothers you.
I think that's very true of this topic about hygiene, because obviously there is hygiene and there's a lack of hygiene, but there's a lot of grey areas in between, and families are very, very different, and cultures are very different too
Yes.
about it. So while we're waiting for people to share their pet peeves, what about you, Craig? What 3 things really get your goat?
Well, before I tell you, I've just
Hmm.
noticed a comment from Marcia who says people not washing hands
Uh-huh.
when they work in restaurants. And I
Oof.
can remember going
Mhm.
to the toilet in a restaurant here in Valencia, and the chef came into the toilet, went to the toilet, and then just left without washing his hands. I'm thinking, there's no way I'm going to have lunch here. If the
No.
chef doesn't wash his hands, that's
Oh
it.
my God.
Yeah.
I mean, it's true, Marcia, but you don't usually see the people in the restaurants not washing their hands. But God, if I saw it like you, I
Yeah,
would really not want to
I
eat there.
was
That's true.
I ran out of that place.
I
It was
bet
near
you
it
did.
was very near where we used to work, Lynn, because we used to work together,
Really?
and it was a
Yeah.
restaurant opposite
Uh-huh.
Mercadona there. Yeah, very
Yes.
bad.
Oh, wow. That's awful. Uh-huh. So what 3 things then, while the others are still writing, please keep telling us.
Um,
What about you, Craig? What 3 things get on your
what
nerves?
3 things get on my nerves? Well, when you go to a hotel
Hmm.
and you go into the room and there's a bedspread on the bed
Hmm.
with cushions.
Hmm.
Now, let's be clear, the bedspread, you don't actually sleep usually with a bedspread, because the bedspread is just to cover the sheets and the blanket. It's
Hmm.
on top of the bed linen, the sheets,
Hmm.
and it's supposed to be decorative. So it's like a
Yeah.
decoration. And cushions are the same. You don't
Hmm.
sleep with a cushion. Cushions you usually find on sofas, on chairs. You sleep with your head on a pillow.
Hmm.
So you've got these bedspreads and these cushions that never get washed.
Hmm.
I don't think. So, yet they wash
Well,
the
they don't
sheets,
get washed after
they
every
wash
guest. That's true.
exactly. So the first thing I do whenever I travel and I go
Hmm.
into a hotel bedroom or room, I always remove as quickly as possible those cushions and the bedspread,
Hmm.
because I know that they haven't been washed
Oh,
frequently.
wow. Uh-huh. So, I never, do you know,
That's
I
a
never
pet
think
peeve.
about
It's a
that.
pet
I mean,
peeve.
I certainly wouldn't sleep with the cover, and I certainly don't think I would sleep with my head on the cushion. That's
Right.
true.
I
But I
just,
don't, I'm not in a hurry to get rid of it, I have to say.
and
Uh-huh.
the same with
Yeah.
the remote control. The remote control,
Oh,
the first
uh-huh.
thing I do is maybe this is a bit weird, but I take my gel and a tissue
Really?
and I
Uh-huh.
clean. Imagine people, I mean, what have they been doing with that TV, with that remote control? Picking their
Changing
nose.
the challenge, the channel.
Well, maybe that's being
Uh-huh.
very optimistic, Lynn. I think they've
Uh-huh.
probably been doing other things with the remote control. Maybe, I don't know where it's been. So the first thing I do is I take my gel and I clean the remote
And you
control.
clean the remote control? I've never done that. No, I've never done that.
Yeah, maybe
But
I'm weird.
now that you're telling me these things, maybe I will in future.
You
I
see,
don't know.
I'm not alone, because Steffi
Mhm.
says this is why she always takes her bedroll when she travels.
Wow. Uh-huh.
There, you
So
see.
your
Thank you.
own bedroll. Interesting. Uh-huh.
Yes. Some people
Okay.
take their own pillows.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
What
Oh, well.
bothers you? Do you have one?
Well, the number one
The
is
one.
the number one
The
on
number
my
one.
list of, like, really, is when I am in the bathrooms, public toilets, and I leave the cubicle to wash my hands, and I see people leaving their cubicles and going out of the door and not washing their hands.
And
That makes me,
touching the
and
door
they
handle.
touch the door handle, and then sometimes you see them in the restaurant next to you, or, or they're operating and you're with them or they're touching something else. And that really like freaks me out when I see people in the bathrooms. And I have to say, I mean, it's an awful, I mean, I don't know if it's cultural or whether it's just something new that's happening now, but I am seeing that increasingly that is the norm in Spanish public toilets. I have to say that. It's more often that I see people leaving the bathrooms without washing their hands than I see people washing their hands. When I'm actually washing my hands and somebody else is washing their hands, I want to kind of talk to them because I feel an affinity. I think, oh, thank God you're clean too.
You got something in common. So what do you do? How do you deal with the problem of the contaminated handle on the door? Because
that's easy because I get the paper and I always try to get paper to dry my hands rather than the dryer.
If there is paper.
If there is one, if there is paper. And if there isn't paper, then I get a tissue and I put the tissue on my hand to touch the door handle.
And what do you do with the tissue or the paper if there's no waste paper bin next to the door? Because maybe you have to cross to the other side of the bathroom to throw it away, and then you've got the same problem again.
No. I would go out of the room and I keep it in my hand with the tissue. But I mean, obviously, it's the interior, the inside of the tissue. I close the tissue so that the contamination stays in the tissue, and then I try to throw it away somewhere. But it does freak me out. I don't like seeing people go to the bathroom and not wash their hands.
We're quite similar in that respect, Lynn. We're very similar. So, I mean, are we weird? If you're watching this, I know some people are watching us live. What do you think?
Yeah.
Are we strange to be thinking about this? Or sometimes I think I am weird.
And then I've got two more. Come on, people. We've only got a couple. Vinicius has said something. Steffi's talked about the bedroll, but come on, write some more things in there.
Coming home with dirty shoes. Yes.
Yep. Coming home with dirty shoes. Well, I'm a bit even worse than that. I don't know, Vinicius, if you take your shoes off, because I really don't like people in my house with shoes on. And it's, I mean, we always.
I don't remember that you asked me to take my shoes off when I came to your home.
I don't, but I would never let you downstairs in any other room.
I wouldn't object. I quite like taking my shoes off.
I always take my shoes off
because you don't know what you're stepping in outside.
No. And I like to walk around my house with bare feet or with no shoes on. And then of course it's really important to me that I'm not stepping, like it's not like walking outside. So I like slippers in houses. I always wear slippers.
Me too. Yeah.
And then not having a bath before sleep. Interesting. Now I'm not sure. I don't. I mean, I think as long as somebody gets washed every day, I suppose it depends on how dirty. Showered. Well,
every day?
I shower every day, but I don't shower in the evening. I shower in the morning. But if I was doing sport or I was a bit sweaty or I'd been out all day, then possibly, yes, I would have another shower before bed. It depends how active I've been.
Another thing I want to mention, I mentioned the remote control in hotels and the cushions. Another thing that comes to mind, aeroplanes, when you fly and you have to eat on the aeroplane and you put down the tray table, that's another thing I always clean. So I usually, with some gel or with a wet tissue or wet wipe, I clean the tray table where my food's going before I eat. But
your food doesn't touch that table because your food's always on a tray.
Yeah, it's true. But I don't know. I always clean it because maybe I'll put something on there. Maybe I'll be working on it. Maybe I'll put something down on there. So that's that with that expression we had before, cross contamination. So you only have to touch something, and then the germs might go on something else, and I don't think they ever get cleaned, those tables. So
I think they probably do when they really clean the aircraft, but it could be that if it's a short haul flight, maybe they don't get cleaned until the end of the day. It could be that there's been different passengers. It depends on how long the flight is in the aircraft. But I think they probably do get at least wiped with an anti, because I've never opened one and found it dirty.
Oh, I have.
Have you?
Well, just those wet wipes you can buy. I mean, if you wipe one
Mhm.
of those trays with that and you look at it, and very often it's black.
Really?
Try it next
Oh,
time.
wow.
Yeah.
I'll try it next time, then I will. Now that you said
I'm
that.
making you paranoid.
You're making me paranoid, yes. I mean, yeah, I think, I think also sometimes we might be trying to be too clean. There is that argument, isn't there, that we're trying to sterilize everything, and then it doesn't make us resistant, because actually as human beings we have a lot of immunity against bacteria, and if we live in totally clean places, sometimes you can develop allergies. That's what I've heard anyway, that you become intolerant to certain things. So some exposure to bacteria is good, but I think it depends. I mean, I think during the day, generally, when you're touching everything, you're going to have lots of different bacteria on your hands.
Yeah.
But I think it's only sort of serious if then you go and touch food which you're going to ingest, or if you're sucking your hands, which, I mean,
Biting your
hopefully you're
nails,
not
maybe.
biting your nails. Exactly. So, I mean, if you touch something really dirty, obviously you need to wash your hands. That's why we wash them when we go to the toilets. But I mean, I think generally it's not a bad thing, really, to get some resistance. I don't know. What do you think?
No, I've heard the same thing,
Mhm.
and you're probably right. I don't know if anyone watching has any information on this, if there are any doctors or scientists or anyone who has any information for us about this.
Well,
Does it make you more
uh,
resistant to
well,
infection?
I read an article, I think a couple of weeks ago, and I'm not sure whether it was in Finland, but with very small children, they're insisting now that very small children, like 2 and 3, that they are put on the ground and they're encouraged to put their hands in the soil
Hmm.
and like make things. My mother would never have allowed me to do that. But they're encouraged to do that. And apparently, with the pathogens that come from moving the soil, they breathe in some of those bacteria. And apparently, they have much better immune systems and they have fewer allergies when they grow up. That was a piece of research that I read. I mean,
Yeah,
I
no, it
can't
makes
put my
sense.
hand in the fire for that. I don't know where the research came. I don't know if it's valid, but I read it in a newspaper article a couple of weeks ago.
It does
Uh-huh.
make sense. Do you have any allergies?
No, I don't. Not really. No. I mean, a little bit now. I'm a little bit sensitive sometimes, a bit hay fevery. But I've read also that as you get older, sometimes we develop allergies.
Hmm.
But generally, no, I'm not very allergic. Are you?
No, I don't have any allergies either. So whatever I'm doing seems to be
Mhm.
seems to be
It
working.
seems to be working.
And, but on the
Uh-huh.
topic of restaurants, etc., because these days, and something that we inherited, I think, from COVID, those
Mhm.
QR codes that we are using now instead of touching menus that are
Uh-huh.
printed or in plastic. What do you think about that? Because we've all got mobile phones these days. Those
Mhm.
QR codes stop the contamination from us touching menus,
Yeah. To
and we
be
are talking
frank,
about food as well. So
I know, but I mean, I think that's a little, for me, that's a little bit too far. First of all, it really bugs me that I have to get my mobile phone out, because when I go to a restaurant, I don't want to be on my phone. So it bugs me that I'm forced to use my phone. I don't like reading the menus on the phone screen.
mhm.
It's just a horrible experience. And I would rather have the menu. And then when I've ordered and given the menu back, then I clean my hands before I eat. It's not, I think it's a bit extreme. If you really take this too far, then you would stop having libraries, for example, because you wouldn't want to borrow a book that somebody else had
Well,
touched,
that's happening anyway. Nothing to do with germs. I think that's happening because of the digitalization of
Well,
books.
possibly, but I mean, for years and years we've had
Mm,
libraries, and people don't get infections from libraries. I think it's a little bit
over the top.
extreme, over the top. And I think the same with like newspapers, I remember years ago you would sit in the tube and there was newspapers. Sometimes people would leave newspapers on the seat, and you would pick it up and you'd be viewing the newspaper, and it was somebody else that had fingered the newspaper, but it wasn't a big deal.
Yeah. And another thing that I think has been left over from COVID, that a practice that not everybody, but most people adopted during COVID, was money, cash money. People started thinking, well, if I've got these 5, 10, 20, 50 euro notes in my purse, in my wallet, and I'm passing it to another person, and then it gets dirty, and it's is that something that, do you feel the same way about that
Well,
it's
I don't
okay?
mind, again, I don't mind money, but what I really don't like is people who are serving food, fresh food in shops. Like maybe they're getting bread or fruit and vegetables or cakes or meat, or serving, and then they're handling money
Handling
as well
money.
at the same time. I don't think that is correct,
Yeah, even if they're wearing gloves, which some of them do
Yes.
these days.
No. But I mean, they shouldn't, because money is clear. Money is definitely probably the most contaminated bits of things that we share. And I don't think that that's a problem, but I do think it's a problem if like they're cutting meat or they're cutting bread or cheese, and they're handling money as well at the same time. Sometimes I've seen that in ice cream shops. And I saw practice in ice cream shops that was awful, because the person didn't have gloves. They pick up the ice cream cone, they put the ice cream on it, then they touch with their fingers like chocolate sprinkles or something that they put on the top, and then they take the money. And that
Yeah.
for me is a bit too much.
Yeah, I agree. 100%. Yeah. What else have we got
What
here?
about you? Everybody's been very silent now.
I know. I don't. I think it's making me feel that I'm strange, that I'm weird, because I'm talking about all these pet peeves of mine as it with germs, and nobody's said anything. So
Yeah,
maybe I am
please tell
strange.
us if we're strange.
Now, if you are Spanish or from a culture where when you greet people, you kiss them on the cheek.
Oh, that's another one.
That's another one. That's something that stopped during COVID. Shaking hands and touching. We used to touch elbows, didn't we, in during COVID? So instead of shaking hands, we'd touch elbows to stop the germs contaminating us. Um, yeah, I've never been very keen on the kissing. I do it because it's part of the culture here, and I live in Spain, so I have to adapt. But I've never been very, very enthusiastic about the kissing culture when you greet people.
Oh, I quite like it.
You do? You like it? Yeah.
I do. I mean, as long as you're not like, I think you have to have a little bit of like restraint. Like you're not hugging. But I do like. I think it's really important for humans to actually have physical contact with each other, and I think it's. I don't know. I think it's very healthy for your mind as well. I think, and I think it can make people feel, well, I don't know, because maybe it makes people feel not very comfortable, but I think that it's a very human thing if somebody touches you. And I mean, obviously not like smothers you and blows on you and and sneezes on you, obviously not. But I think some physical contact, I never liked that touching elbows,
No, that was a
I
bit
thought that
silly.
was ridiculous. And then also this like hello and like very distant. it's just not human enough for me. But I'm a very familiar person, so
Yeah, I don't know. And I don't mind hugging and kissing if I'm close to someone,
mhm,
whether that be, well, I wouldn't kiss a man, but I'd probably
mhm,
give a good friend a very good hug
mhm,
if it were a man, and I'd hug and kiss someone I feel very close to. But
mhm.
the idea of just kissing somebody because it's a custom when you're introduced to them, and I spoke to a student
Yeah. Mhm,
during COVID who was
mhm,
really, really happy. She was a young girl, and she said, I
mhm.
don't like the idea of strange men kissing me and coming that
Yes.
close. I don't
Mhm.
want them to, but
No.
you kind of have to if you're Spanish because
Mhm.
everybody does it, and
Or
you might
French.
offend somebody if you
Exactly.
don't do it. And
If you don't.
I totally understand and sympathize
Mhm.
with that.
Mhm. Yes. And I think it's a little bit I think it's also I think that culture is changing a little bit in Spain because as far as I've understood in a professional context,
Shake
it
hands.
it well before it was customary for the men to kiss the women. Uh-huh. But the men didn't kiss the men shook hands. And I think that that's a little bit unequal. So if you're trying to have like equality, I think in a professional context, it should be
Mhm.
handshaking. Yeah. But I mean, we're English, so we haven't got this culture of kissing. I don't mind it, but I do agree with you. I don't always feel comfortable with it when it's strangers. And I
Yes.
don't feel comfortable with it. And I don't think it's fair that because I'm a woman, I have to tolerate it, but a man doesn't.
Yeah.
So that does bother me.
Yeah. No,
It's true. Hmm.
I agree.
Hmm.
So does Marcia. Marcia says, I fully agree with what you described
As displeasing you.
as displeasing. Yeah.
Thank you, Marcia.
Thank you, Marcia. So we're not so strange, are we? After all,
No.
um,
Let's talk about bathrooms and toilets.
let's talk about bathroom. I think we have. We said about
No,
washing hands.
I want because the thing is, you see, bathrooms and toilets are very culturally very different, you know.
Mm,
So we talked about hand washing, but for example, there are different flush mechanisms as well, because there are some toilets now where you don't have to touch anything, but you have to, they kind of operate with a mechanism. Uh-huh. And I have to say, that is also a pet peeve of mine. It really bothers me. I mean, I'm not a fan of touching the toilets, obviously, but I know that afterwards I'm going to come out and wash my hands, right? And if necessary, you can take a piece of paper and cover your hand and press the thing if you really want to. I don't like those automatic mechanisms. When you go to because in Valencia airport, for example, you open the door and the toilet, when you open the door, that's when the toilet flushes.
mhm,
And I don't like that because I think that's horrible because it's been a
mhm.
dirty toilet for quite a while and then it's just flushed. Uh-huh. And then when you leave the bathroom, it doesn't flush because it flushes when the next person goes in. And I don't feel comfortable leaving behind a dirty
What
toilet.
you've done,
So
yeah.
it really bothers me, those automatic flush mechanisms. And then there are other ones for like washing your hands, and I can never get them to
Yeah,
get the
they never
water.
seem to
They
work, and
never seem to
you're
work.
waving your
And
hands, and it's not
exactly.
working. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And that I just find is stupid. Uh-huh.
There are countries that don't have sit-down toilets.
Mm,
You do what you have to do in what is a hole in a
mhm,
ceramic bowl at the bottom,
mhm. And you
and you have
stand.
to stand or
Uh-huh.
crouch.
Mhm,
Yeah, bend your legs and crouch,
mhm.
which I think are really more hygienic, to be
Yes,
honest,
that's what I was going to
because
say.
you haven't
Uh-huh.
got germs on the toilet seat. Yep, it just
You're
goes away.
standing with your shoes on a dirty surface, which is like the streets outside as well. Uh-huh.
Yes, so
No, no.
if they're
But
clean, then I
if
think
they're
they're good.
clean, but the problem is a lot of people don't know how to use drop toilets.
Yeah,
Like
you
if
have
you're
to aim
English
carefully.
or you're Spanish, I mean, French people used to have drop toilets. But increasingly, I think in France, they're changing to sitting toilets. And I remember when I lived in Africa, for example, in Africa, drop toilets were the form of toilets. It was the
The
most
norm. Yeah.
hygienic, the norm. And strangely enough, some people who had lived all their lives with standing toilets, when they saw a sitting toilet, they used to stand on top of it.
Yes.
Rather than sit down on it, because they found it so unhygienic. So that's
Mhm.
it's a kind of interesting cultural difference, isn't it?
Also, I remember
Mm,
going back years when I was traveling in the Middle East, and I
mm,
had a friend from Iran
mhm.
who didn't know, he had never seen a sit down toilet. So he
Mhm.
went by mistake and used the shower, thinking that that was the toilet.
Oh no! Oh no!
So yeah, he wasn't very popular with the Europeans. It wasn't.
No, I mean, but it's
Oh,
amazing,
I
isn't
really
it?
felt
What a
sorry.
cultural difference it
Yes,
is.
it's culture. It just he
It's
had
culture,
never se
and I
he
mean
did not. Yeah,
that's like the Europeans who don't know how to use the drop toilets,
the
and
drop
they tend to
toilets.
make a big mess of the drop toilets because they don't know how to use them properly.
Yeah.
And yeah, Steffi says the best toilet is the one with a foot pedal to pull the water.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
100%.
true. And I mean, how many toilets have foot pedals? Hardly any.
Hmm.
It's so crazy that they don't have foot pedals. And I think it's the same with taps, like, why do we have taps? Why don't we just have a foot pedal? It would be more hygienic, perhaps. Yeah.
Taps is a British English word. The American
Hmm.
word is faucet. So
Mm,
that's where the
mhm.
water comes from in the sink
In the
or the
sink, yeah.
bath, the
Mhm,
tap or the faucet.
mhm.
And Vinicius says, if we saw a Brazilian bathroom, we might be surprised because we have an electric shower and a plug in the bathroom. Very good.
An electric shower and a plug in the bathroom. But what's that for? Is that for use after you use the toilet? Or
Presumably, maybe it's similar to the Japanese toilets
is
where
it that
they're
they
they have their
yeah, they have
electric.
like a little shower. They have a
Mhm.
toilet seat, and then they have a shower head.
Yes,
So it's like
and
a bidet and a toilet in one.
yeah, and then there's also air that comes up and dries your bum after, and music that plays so that you're not feeling embarrassed when you use the toilet.
Well, that's quite nice. I think the Japanese have got something there.
They have,
Very
yeah.
hygienic and
Japanese toilets are
yeah.
amazing.
And of course, like in Europe as well, many people, if we stick on the topic of toilets, but like many European countries, in France and Italy and in Spain, it's very traditional to have a bidet in a bathroom.
Yes,
Whereas in England, it's not that common to have a bidet in a bathroom.
not common at all.
No, no, no,
And
no.
actually, it's cleaner to use water, I think, than toilet paper.
Yes, I think it is. And it's certainly environmentally more friendly, isn't it? I think.
Hmm. Yeah,
And but a lot of people don't use that. So I think that's also fascinating that the whole world has different habits for something that is essentially
a very
something that
basic need. Yeah.
everybody does. Everybody needs a toilet. Vinicius says we use an electric shower to get hot water. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's put another question up for you. What do we
Hmm.
have here? Manners, travel,
Home. Let's do the section on home because you have a
home.
section on
Well, we
home.
spoke about taking off your
Shoes or slippers.
shoes. We both agree that's a good thing
Uh-huh.
because of what you step in the street.
Yeah. But what
Bed
about
sheets and
bed
towels.
sheets and towel changes? I always think that can cause a lot of discussion
Once a week.
because once a week for you, because in some cultures they recommend very frequent bed sheet and towel changes.
Mm,
I change our towels every week.
once a week
But
as well.
but the bed sheets, no, the bed sheets I do every 2 weeks. Uh-huh.
Hmm.
Yeah. But maybe that's because I also iron my sheets, and I have 5 beds in my house.
You
And
iron
so,
your sheets.
yes. So,
Impressive. Impressive. How do you find the time?
I think with the bed sheets, it's probably also to do with your habits as well, because it's like what Vinicius said. If you shower before you go to bed, essentially you're clean, aren't you, when you
Yes.
use the bed? Uh-huh.
Yes.
But if you maybe have a job whereby, I don't know, maybe you work nights and you come in and you have to just collapse into bed, then maybe you need to change your bed sheets more often. That's true. I suppose it depends on how dirty and what kind of a job you have, maybe. Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, we have relatively clean jobs, so we don't
Yeah.
necessarily do physical
Mhm.
work and we don't sweat that much, I guess.
Mhm.
And yeah, probably not
Mhm.
necessary. Fruit and vegetables. I remember during COVID,
Mhm.
every time we got back from the supermarket, we used to wash and sterilize everything, clean it with a rag. Everything that came out of the supermarket was
Mhm.
washed down.
Mhm.
Yeah. Not anymore though. I always wash fruit.
Yes.
If I'm not peeling it, I wash it.
Yes, of course, and vegetables too. I always wash vegetables. I think all fruit and vegetables I tend to wash. Anything that's been like in the earth or exposed to maybe sprays and things, because I mean, fruit is not in the earth, but it's on the tree, and then maybe it's been had pesticides or pollutants on it.
Mhm.
Um, I do always wash fruit and vegetables, but I know people who don't.
Me too.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
But
Mhm.
they've got pesticides on them and they're sprayed with different chemicals. So I
Yeah.
think it makes sense to wash them quickly under the tap
Mhm.
or the
Mhm.
faucet.
Funnily enough, though, I do think that it's a little bit too much in the. What do you think about in the supermarkets in Spain? Because in the supermarkets, in the self-service supermarkets, they are insistent that you put a plastic glove on your hand in order to
Mm.
pick the fruit and vegetables. And
Yeah.
I find that environmentally unfriendly. Because I think if you wash your fruit and vegetables, there is no necessity for you to have a plastic glove on your hand to pick the fruit and vegetables.
I agree with fruit and vegetables, but not with bread because in our
No,
supermarket,
bread,
they also
no.
have, and I've seen people without those plastic gloves touching all the bread
Yes, no.
before to see if it's
Bread, because
crusty.
bread goes in your mouth straight away. So bread,
Right.
I would
And you
agree
don't
with
wash
you.
it.
And
Yeah.
you can't wash bread, but fruit and vegetables, I think, is a little bit over the top, to be
Yeah.
frank. Uh-huh. And yeah, and yeah.
I'll put that in the
uh-huh.
chat. We've used that expression a few times to be over the top,
To be over the top, which is a bit
exaggerated,
excessive or
excessive.
excessive. Hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, we're nearly at
Okay.
the top of the hour. Should we just have one quick question before we say goodbye?
Mm-hmm.
Which takes your fancy here?
Uh-huh.
We've got
Um,
hygiene different or habits should be different in different parts of the world.
Maybe how do hygiene standards differ between genders, age groups, or professions?
Oh, that's a
We
good
had
one. Yeah.
that one.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So if you have an opinion, write it in the chat and
Mm-hmm.
we'll see if we agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I think professions, I think, is obvious because we
Professions, yes. Uh-huh.
dentists, surgeons, people preparing food,
Doctors. Mm-hmm.
doctors, food
Mm-hmm.
preparation, they need to be very hygienic
Yeah.
and aware of germs.
Mm-hmm. And so I think certainly in some professions they're much more aware than in others. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
But between like men and women, and whether you're young or old, I don't think there's a great deal of difference there. I think the thing that is more, the thing that impacts more is what your parents taught you.
Hmm.
I think a lot of hygiene habits, you inherit them from your parents. You might modify them, like if there's a COVID pandemic, which obviously our parents didn't have. So there could be things that you integrate into those hygiene habits. But for example, standards of like washing fruit and vegetable, washing your hands when you go to the bathroom. I mean, for me, they're things that were taught to me from a very early age from my parents. So I think I've just sort of never really questioned them.
That's
What
true.
about you?
Yeah, no, that's true. But I think there is a difference with the genders. I think
Do
women
you? Mm-hmm.
tend to be cleaner than men,
Mm-hmm.
generally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
That's my opinion. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're more aware. I mean, I don't know if this is sexist, but I think it's true that generally speaking, in most relationships, women tend to prepare more food than men. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
true. So maybe they're more aware of washing their hands more, being cleaner,
Mm-hmm.
especially after using the toilet. I just get the feeling that men aren't as clean as women, generally
Mm-hmm.
speaking. What do you think?
I think that's a stereotype because, as I said, when I've been in the women's bathrooms, you'd be amazed at how many women don't wash their hands. You know, I think that maybe it's a sort of
Well,
visual.
to be fair, you're not touching anything.
Sorry,
You're not
in
touching anything in a toilet. Oh, yeah, well, yeah, you are
yes,
actually.
you
Yes,
are.
you're using toilet
You're
paper. Yeah,
using toilet paper
I take that back.
and you're touching your own body and
The knobs
yeah,
and
and the
the
knobs on
toilet
the
door.
door. I mean, I think the
Mm,
toilet thing is really serious,
yeah.
personally, but that's my pet peeve. Um, and I think that, and I know that from, for example, my daughters have been sharing flats with people. Uh-huh. And I think there's kind of like an impression, maybe because a lot of girls and women take a lot of pride in their appearance, and it gives you the impression that they're very hygienic.
Okay.
But the reality is
Is there
not
not?
like that. No, no, no. And my daughters have had, I mean, like I've seen, and I remember when I also lived at uni, there are many men who are very, very hygienic, and there are many women who appear to be clean, but they're not, and they're not hygienic. Uh-huh. So I'm not sure about whether there's big differences between genders. I think it's more of a thing whether you've had the habits or not. And then maybe if you're older and you haven't got all of those habits, maybe you develop more habits because of your profession. I mean, it's true that with food, I had for a while when I was in my 30s and 40s, I used to volunteer as a cook for a charity. And in order to do that, I had to follow food hygiene seminars because you had to have certification. And there was many things that I learned about cross contamination that I wasn't aware of. My mother had never taught me all of that. And so that those are things that maybe because of your profession you you become more aware and you put in more habits. But
What would
yeah,
you do? What would
don't
you do
know.
if someone was eating a sandwich
Mhm.
or eating with a knife and fork, and not from your family, someone who
Mhm.
you knew but you
Mhm.
weren't particularly close to, and they offered you to taste it? Would you take a bite? Would you use their fork?
No. But I don't think that's going to kill you, you know? It's not
No,
going
it's
to kill
just
you.
the
We
thought of,
also
yeah,
kiss, people, and
yeah.
kissing, if you're doing real kissing, is probably more contaminating than if you share a spoon of food,
Well, they do say there are more germs in your mouth than on a toilet seat. I've heard that.
Have you?
Yes, that's. I don't know if that's an urban myth, but I've heard that a few times.
Okay.
Anyway, unfortunately, that went very quickly, that hour. We are out of
Did.
time, so
Mhm.
we will have to say goodbye for now, but we will be back in 2 weeks with a different topic for you.
Mhm.
So let's remind you who we are and where you can find us. So if you need more of Lynn, and why wouldn't you? She is at putitlikethis.com. What can people discover there, Lynn?
Well, you can see a little bit about who I am, what kind of courses I offer. My motto is that I try to help you find your voice in English, rather than like a standardized English from a textbook about maybe things that don't really interest you. So I try to find out what your objective is in English and just try to design a course so that you achieve it as soon as you can. Um, But you can contact me over the website, and there's lots of information there if you want to find out more about me. And because I'm an online teacher, you will never have to have me. If I sneeze or cough, you won't get any hygienic problems. And I will never offer you a spoon of food. You can always politely decline.
Yes, only computer viruses, but nothing
Yes,
passed on
nothing.
physically.
No.
Putitlikethis.com. And if you are
Mhm.
a Spanish speaker and you want to improve your English and study, go to mansioningles.com, where you'll find a wealth of material there for you. If you prefer audio podcasts to improve your English, go to inglespodcast.com, where you'll find a podcast I do with a good friend and an ex-colleague of mine. And you can also listen on iVoox and Apple Podcasts and Spotify and wherever you listen to your podcasts. We are pretty much everywhere. And if you want to improve your speaking, which I know some of you do, then go to englishcraig.com, book a free 10, 15-minute consultancy with me. We'll have a chat. I'll tell you your level and if I can help you with a conversation course. And remind you, there's one place left for the course that starts this weekend on Sunday. So if you're interested, go over there to the website and let me know. And until next time, thank you for keeping us company. Thank you, Marcia. Good to have you with us. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another topic. So join us for that. And until then, take care. And we'll say goodbye.
Take care and stay clean.
Stay safe. Don't forget
All
your
right.
gel.